John Wells. I'm a wood turner of 40 years experience, 30 some odd years professionally. Today we're going to talk about spheres, and I don't really know why I'm doing this demo because these are ones that the other Wells brought, and pretty cool. He actually brought this demo up because he attended one by Christian Burchard at the last AAW symposium, and we'd like to learn. And I had all kinds of pictures of Christian stuff and so on and so forth to show you, but like Kevin said, the laptop is hiding someplace. We'll find it eventually, I hope. So basically what I'm going to be talking about is how to do a free sphere like that. But I'm also going to show you a mathematical way that I used to use quite a lot in my architectural work. So I have here the end of a newel post, like the beginning post on a stairway. Think about it being like this long, which obviously wouldn't fit on this leg. So I'm just going to turn the ball top on here and show you how that goes. It's a way of turning a sphere when you can't. These go on a chuck and you rotate them as you turn it on 3 axes. And you obviously can't do that when it's attached to something. So, okay, so this is the layout that I'm going to do, the ball top. And what I have up here, you need to lay off 2 different distances. Distance A is the diameter times 0.29275. Calculator helps a lot. And then distance B is the diameter times 1.0767. In the case of a 3.5-inch diameter ball, diameter obviously is 3.5. Distance A is 1.025, and distance B is 0.377. Digital calipers help a lot in figuring out those. And in doing multiples and architectural stuff, this is the story stick for doing this. These 2 marks right here, or 4 marks, whatever, delineate where the, let's turn it around this way, where the cove and the fillets will be, and the other mark at the top shows where the top of the sphere will be. And what you need is the end lines of the sphere to lay out from. You don't lay out from the center diameter line. So what you're doing is you mark off distance A from each corner. This will become more apparent when I do it. And then you cut that off and create a 45-degree angle. And do the same thing on the other edge. Okay. And once you've done that, then you lay off distance B from all of the corners that you've created. And you just cut those off straight from point B to point B, as it were. And that gets you very close to your sphere, and then you just round it off. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And this is the story stick that I made for, hopefully the marks are on there somewhere. Basically, the width of this stick is distance B, and then these 2 little lines on here, you can see them, are distance A from the end, each end. Okay, enough nonsense.
John,
Yeah.
do you always create a scale drawing? Is that kind of
That's actually full size, which I guess is still a scale drawing.
Yeah.
Wonder why. Yeah, pretty much. Because you need that, and then I just take that, and then I can put my story stick on here and mark off each distance very accurately. And then if I'm doing any multiples, then I'll put a little notch on the edge, so that when you're on here and you want to make your line, it catches your pencil point and holds it in the right place.
That's intentional? Is that a difficult thing to do, or is it just how it happens?
Well, that sphere's got to be attached,
Well,
and you can't have it come all the way down and be attached.
it's,
I mean, theoretically, it would be attached by one point on the diameter,
you can't do
but
that.
that's not going to get it.
But the height of that cylindrical thing could be anything. That could be much longer
It could be,
but you have exactly tangent to the bottom of the sphere line.
yeah. You have to take that into account when you turn it. I will show you. I actually have this chart. I got tired of figuring out the distance and everything, so this chart has the diameter and distance A and distance B for everything from 1 to 1.5 to 2, 2.5, so on down to 10 inches. And then other in between diameters like 1.25, 1.75, 3.375 with their A's and B's laid out on that side. I'll also have notes on finished mixtures, formulas for cutting bevels on staves,
Now you're on camera.
and you probably can't read it anyways, it's so old.
It's a living fossil.
It is, a little fossil.
Who are you talking about?
Me or the book? And this is an equation and stuff that I worked out for figuring out the length of segments and segmented rings when I was doing pattern making. But anyways, anybody that wants to look at that.
John?
Yes.
So, I love math, but have you ever tried to just do a sphere freehand, or that's impossible?
I have indeed, and you can do it. Yes.
Well, you can, I don't know if I can.
No, it was interesting.
I haven't tried it yet.
When I first started turning, when I was still going to West Bay Area meetings, 30 some odd years ago, closer to 40, there was a woman who tried to start a Bay Area woodworking newsletter, paper kind of thing. And she found out what I was doing. She said, I want to interview you. I go, okay. And she goes, so what kind of tolerances do you work to? And I go, close enough to fool the human eye.
There you go.
Yeah, but like 10,000s or 20,000s or 3,000s or close enough to fool the human eye. And she couldn't deal with that. She's like, whoa. First step in this would be to lay out the finial. So this waist out here will be a nub that will be left that I would just cut off and carve through and sand. And I hate this thing. So this first fillet is in about 1/4 of an inch. Okay. And then and should have set these 7/8.
buy them.
You can buy them at the store.
Yeah.
Like, you learn to love oak because the shavings just stick to you like crazy. This is white oak, I think.
Okay, John? The previous tool is called,
Beading and parting tool.
okay,
Okay. Yeah. You can obviously use it to part stuff off with, but mostly you use it for setting diameters, like I just did. You can also roll beads with it, like a little skew.
and it's different from a badan?
Yeah. And I have never used a badan.
Okay.
It's something that just came on the market 20 years ago or something, maybe now. I think of it as a new tool.
I think a badan
And it's
has
usually sharpened with one bevel,
Right,
I believe, instead of
a dual bevel.
two.
Good.
Can you show the close-up of that,
Yeah.
the tip of it?
It's like a fat parting tool.
It's like a narrow skew.
Yep.
Well,
Make a very narrow party tool and
that guy that's all over Instagram, Richard Finlay, England, he does not use a skew, a normal skew. He uses a BMP. And it's sharpened a little different. It's got a longer bevel and the edge is rolled off here. Works really well. So that's of interest. He also sells those signature tools. Later I will use this tool, which embarrasses me greatly because it's a signature tool. It's a Glenn Lucas, and I only bought it because it's the only bowl gouge of this size that I could find. My other one, I finished off the second one in my lifetime. I'm on to number 3.
Wow.
I always tell students and stuff, don't buy signature tools because you're just paying for the name. They're no different than regular tools. One other thing I forgot to do. Okay, so now I have the ends of the sphere delineated, and I can take my wee stick . I do this. And take this fuzz off the corners. basically. So to Martin's point, I can't lay out the distance down this end because that fillet is in the way. So I just have to eyeball it some. So I made this cute little 45-degree angle gauge here. And that's pretty close. And hopefully this isn't too far off. Pretty close. And now we'll just take the end. I'm laying out distance B now.
John, what tool are you using there?
What?
What tool are you using there?
This is a spindle gouge, 9/16 spindle gouge. So what I'm trying to do now is create a straight line, basically, between the two lines that I've penciled on now. Two. So now I've cut that nub down about the distance from that corner that I created, distance B. So basically, now you have your sphere. All you have to do is I know, right? And there you have your ball top fail.
Yeah.
And you have to make another fix.
That's true.
I had
So what do you do with top?
So, so you can see it's still a little pointy out there. I would cut that in rounder with a skew, just a little bit. So I'm left with this nub. I would probably take this nub to my disc sander and just rest the square on the table and push it in there and sand away 95% of that. And then come back maybe with a chisel and carve it pretty flush and save the random orbit.
You wouldn't have like two sticks in front of your disc sounder, so it automatically has exactly the right distance.
No. I only have to be close enough to fool the human eye.
How many thousands is that?
When I teach here at the school, I constantly telling the kids, when you use the knockout bar and take something out, hold what you're taking out. Or it goes on the floor and I have to take it home and sharpen it. I actually, look at Martin over there with his calipers checking the diameter. Boy, I tell you. Well, I'm telling you in honesty, I've only done this 2 or 3 times in my career. So it's kind of a learning process for me too. These are marked 1, 2, and 3. This was the first one I did. It's actually quite useful. I'm not saying it. But you don't want to misbehave or ask any more nitpicky questions, Martin.
I'll show you. I mean, Wally took my calipers and started measuring this. Right? And then he gave the calipers back to me.
Okay.
And then you blame me because it's always this. When the poor innocent gets handed the stuff by the truth.
Watch any football game tomorrow and you'll see it's always the second guy that gets caught.
Okay.
Especially from my eyeball.
So this was number 2 and this was number 3 and it's actually pretty good. So as Christian says, this is Christian Burchard who got relatively famous. I think developed this process that I'm going to show. What he does is turn them wet and then dry them and then return them like a twice-turned bowl. So I did these in wet wood. I hiked all over my property and found a recently down live oak, no, tan oak. And messed with these. Kevin, be careful with my balls.
You're gonna turn some keys now, so we got a technique program.
Interesting number.
Hey, John, did they all start off the same diameter?
No. The diameter was delineated by the chunks of wood that I got out of the log. Okay, so to do this, you need something like this on your tailstock to put pressure against it, and then you have a cup like this on your headstock to fit it into. And that's really all you use.
John?
Yeah.
Yeah, Christian mentioned making that a in-grain bowl to keep it from warping and getting irregular. Is that essential in our climate?
It's probably essential in any climate. But that's true if if you're going to use it over and over again and stuff. Like he used to do he says he did 200 or 300 a year. It's one thing I liked about my career. I was always doing this, and then I was doing something different, and then doing a 12-foot column, and then some little doorknobs and whatever. I don't know if I could stand to do. Well, I don't know if I should say that. I once did 350 6x6 balusters all at one time. Yeah. Doing it in grain is a good idea. It's going to be more stable that way. It'll also be harder and not mash or anything. You probably see it. Let's see. So the key to this process is so you're going to hold the sphere in here like this. You want to turn it around. Lay out your diameter, and you want to rotate it 90 degrees and turn again, getting close to that line but not take the line off. So that's your second axis, and then you rotate it 90 degrees. I don't know if I did that right.
No.
You will come to what should have been a slide in our presentation. This is, again, will impress the engineers. But so you turn it the first time and you have this diameter. This is your first diameter. Then you rotate it 90 degrees and you turn it and you get your second diameter. Notice 2 lines for the second diameter. Okay. And then you're going to rotate it 90 degrees more and create your third axis. These 2 lines on the outside show where the number 2 diameter is now. It's going around this way. And now you're going to create your third diameter this way. Okay? This one doesn't have knots, it doesn't have the pith in it. None of them were supposed to have the pith in it.
This is greenwood, you said?
This is greenwood.
So would you expect when you're done that after it dries, it should hold its shape?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
Like I said, you have to return it
Oh,
like a twice
your
turn.
rotor.
It's gonna get all wonky.
Pretty darn close.
All that thickness, imagine a lot of them crack. Is that right?
It could be. Yeah, Christian says that he loved that. He put them in the microwave or the oven or whatever and get them to crack and warm. I think some he probably finished without returning them. These are a couple of his. He says he doesn't do these anymore. So these are in the archived stuff on his website. Which you can see in the top one here, you can see the grooves go all the way around. Okay. In the bottom one, you can see that the grooves only go part way. So those are done off the central axis.
Oh,
And I'll talk about how he does that.
wow.
And this bottom one, I think, is just carved. Can't think of any way to turn that. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is turn the speed down. To see what's what.
How do you spell Burchard?
Burchard, I believe. Okay, so first thing you need to do is take this down to round. You can do that with a roughing gouge. Or, if all you bolt turners don't have a roughing gouge, you can do it with your ball gouge. And do it again. Okay, so that's a pretty nice surface on there, not that that's totally crucial, but when I was roughing, I was cutting like on the side and close, just behind the tip, like that. Don't want to dig the whole wing in, it's just too much rotation. And then at the end, to get this nice surface, I tipped it up a little bit like that and did more of a shear cut across. So there's our first diameter. Stop, I say. It's just about exactly 3 inches. No, not that one. There's the ends of the sphere, as it were, and you can then take this down to beading and folding, or you bolt turners can. don't do that.
Is that part of the demo?
Yeah, I always try to show people what not to do, so we don't get in trouble. Sorry, Kevin. So what I'm doing now is I've got the gouge all the way over on its side, and I'm using the wing to do a scraping cut. Actually, I'm going to lower this just a little bit. I'm trying to get very close to that center line. But not take it. This is a very simple cut, but you want to be careful not to turn it up too much, because then it grabs too much and it catches and hooks. Okay, that's first step.
What kind of wood are you using there?
What is this attachment made out of? It's hard rock maple. This actually was a cone center that I made decades ago. So I just turned it, the tip away, did a little hollow in it. Okay,
John, what speed are you turning?
good question. 1375.
Close enough legal size.
Yep.
John, do you have center lines marked metal cups?
No. I do not.
To the back, so you will take those bolts off
You could do that.
here. It's scary.
I didn't hear, what did Martin say?
You would cut those knobs to hold it up before you do this, rather than try to hack them off.
Right.
You could do that, as I said. So now I've rotated 90 degrees. You can see my other center line. It used to go this way. I've rotated 90 degrees. Now it's going this way. And I'm just going to put the ruler up here and kind of side along the ways.
Making sure that it's lined up with the waves.
I'm trying to make sure that it's lined up as much as possible with the ways.
Is this how you did those also?
I'm not sure that this is absolutely necessary. It seems reasonable to me.
If you use the bandsaw to cut out those knobs, please put a little vertical piece on the other side to support it, and not try to do it by hand.
Yeah, no, that's a big.
You can probably, you could actually take them down much smaller and knock them off with a hand saw. You will notice here that actually you won't because you can't see it, but there's a gap. You know, this cup only meets the sphere here and here where my fingers are. And there's a gap on the other side. Eventually that will get better, and that's something you want to kind of do your best to balance those gaps on each side.
You can see the gap in this camera.
Okay, yeah, there's the gap on that side. And there's the gap on the other, fairly equal.
That's normally, you don't have to be precise, because by keep rotating it and it'll end up perfect.
This is true.
Whereas mine is
Or it keeps getting smaller.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you want to try and make sure that you don't take off those pencil lines. Okay, so
Your fingers free.
Right, Kevin, get a little closer.
does anybody else smell that? I'm pretty sure there's a black line. Yeah, it's spun in the. So our nubs are gone, and our gaps are still pretty much, so we're done pretty good there. Or pretty well if you want to be grammatically correct. So now what you're doing is you're just trying to take off the shadow. Right? If you've done any eccentric turning or multi-axis turning, you know that you can see a shadow where there's not wood all the time. And that's what you're trying to take away here. Unfortunately, I don't have real good light here. So when you're doing this, you don't want to be pushing into the wood. You just want to be moving the gouge up there and letting the wood come around and taking away the part that you don't want. Lots of pressure on the tool rest. You don't want your gouge to be bouncing. It's not very central.
If your two cups are the same size, that will make it easier to eyeball the shape.
Well, what would really make it easier to eyeball the shape would be is if I had a lamp here and I could set it so I could see the shadow better.
But a good workman would never blame his tools.
I'm not blaming his tools, it's unfortunate that it's not here. If it was here, it would work fine, and I would use it expertly.
Light is not a tool.
The hell it's not. Okay, and looking at this here, I've got a space of about an inch where I'm not up close to diameter 1. So I'm going to go back and take a little more off. I'm going to try and get as close as I can to that line without taking it. Or I'll just screw the whole thing up.
One more cut.
This sounded worse. There's the light.
Too late, Kevin.
A little late now.
Better late than never.
little bit too far.
So you're lining up the double line now with the wings,
I am. That's good.
That's how you get those eccentric burn marks, right?
that's the neck.
That's part of the decoration. Actually. Oh.
You notice how he doesn't move it up. It moves and comes out of the knees. You're never gonna get stable motion if you do that.
Like a cha-cha.
Not the wolves.
Or trunk or thing.
Yeah.
That's what I tell my people when I push.
There's no quick step.
No two-step.
John? John?
Yeah.
Could I point out something to, new returners? You notice that he's not wrestling with this with his arms. He's not pushing it around with his arms because your arms are weak. He's got this locked and secure, but
Your arms are weak.
he's doing this he was a dancer, you can tell he's doing it all with his trunk and the big strong muscles. And that's why he's able to do it so smoothly.
Called the trunk of gas.
It's a rattling sound.
Time check.
I'm almost done. So there's our third diameter. So you can see we basically got a sphere at this point. And you would take it and I found that going through the centers about twice gets you pretty darn close.
that, would you just do it once for a greenwood turning?
You could.
John, why do you choose a larger gouge versus a smaller?
Just cause.
That's his favorite.
That's what he's using.
It does everything.
I do, I use my big bowl gouge for so much.
Yeah, me too.
I hardly ever use that little roughing gouge that I was using. I have a 2-inch roughing gouge that I use almost all the time. I think the weight is important.
It could be just the handle shape, just felt better in the hand.
Of course, you could start with dry wood and do this, and then you only have to do it once. It wouldn't be as much fun though. Couldn't shoot shavings all over Kevin as easily.
So when you sand that, will you just use sandpaper or will you use your electric drill?
According to Christian, to really get a perfect sphere, and so you don't get the hollow in between the early wood and late wood, you want to do it off the lathe by hand. Okay.
By hand, like this you're talking about?
Like that. Or this is where that
Orbital sander?
that orbital air grinder that you got from Larry will come in really handy. Yeah.
Or you sand with a sandpaper glued to a stick that you can get to an exact position, and then you sand and then you turn it, you sand, you turn it a bit, you sand, you turn it a bit, you keep going in the thing. But
Seems to me you
push
can
on
also
it,
do that on the lathe, you know, just not necessarily having it on, but you could sand and then turn it. Just go out.
it's easy to then make it over again. Because some of the wood is always a bit. Don't forget, this piece of wood grew 30 years later than this piece of wood. Different seasons, different wetness, different years, different everything. It's never the same. So you're gonna make it over again. Just add seven up with
Power sand.
For that reason that I just mentioned, the difference between early wood and late wood, that would make something like fir really difficult to use because there's a marked difference in condition and everything. Although if you wanted that texture, it would be way cool. You could do, I think they'd be really neat done with shoshugi bun, which is Japanese. They char the wood. Hello. They char the wood. They use it for exterior stuff in Japan. But I just found out that it was a thing like a couple months ago when I was looking for burl to do those two vessels with, and well, one of them. Yeah. But I've been doing that for like 15 years. So, anyways, parallel development. I think that'll look really cool on the sphere and stuff. Anyways, the grooves that Kevin showed you when he was holding the pictures up on his phone, the ones that go all the way around, you would do just like this. Takes a lot of measurement to get them right where you want them and stuff. The ones that are not concentric, that only go part way around, you do those by
Hold it, right?
instead of doing this on a chuck, do it on a faceplate. Okay, you have to be larger to meet the screws. And then to get it off center, take all the screws out but one, and you can pivot it a little bit, and that'll put it off center. And it'll take a bunch of experimentation, which is true of any kind of multi-axis off-center turning that you do. It's like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're gonna get. So you gotta try it out and figure it out and keep track of your measurements and everything. So Christian says himself that it just takes an enormous amount of time to do the complex designs that he does. To hollow it, you have to make a jam chuck, which would be a cup like this with having this outside diameter being the same as the diameter of the major diameter of your sphere. And you want to dish it so that it's not round like the sphere, it must be deeper. You only want to contact at the rim here. I did this very well. I demonstrated by making the black line for you. Sure, that was on purpose. And when you do that, you basically want the sides to come up fairly straight, but the last little bit taper in a couple degrees, and that'll give you your best grip. Christian says. Wet wood is the best. When it's wet, it's tacky, and it sticks, and it's going to shrink its if it moves at all and tighten its grip. Anyways, you do that, and you can hollow it out. You'll notice that his openings are almost never round. Those are cut and carved after the turning. What else? So if you're doing a bunch of grooves and everything, obviously if you hollow it first, then at some point you're probably going to have that hollow opening at your tailstock, and that's not going to work. So you got to do your grooves first, and then do your hollow. Yes, sir.
Hollowing, sorry. Just so you know, I'm not losing my mind. I'm dealing with a confection, so I lose my thoughts in 50 seconds. So sorry.
We hadn't noticed any difference.
Thank you. Hollowing. So when you make the sphere, would you make it a little bit elongated in the middle so that when you're cutting it and doing the step to put it back together, it will be round?
You don't cut it and put it back together
Well, how are you going to hollow it out?
like you do any other hollow vessel. He uses a Jameson tool like I use.
But then you got a hole in one end.
Yeah, it's like a hollow vessel with an opening in it.
Yeah, but if you don't want the opening.
If you don't want the opening, then yeah, you would need to cut it. What I would do is cut it and do the joinery and stuff first, put it back together.
Right.
And then
Then you can put it back in your cups and
So cut it in half, then do your shape. Got it.
and then take
That
it
makes
back.
sense.
out and put it in the jam chuck and hollow out each half. I think
Okay.
is the way I would try to do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
When you're rotating the piece 90 degrees, are you paying much attention to the grain direction? It seems like you were doing just a very similar scraping cut
Yeah.
all the while.
No, I'm not trying to cut downhill or anything. I'm just scraping, especially at this stage where theoretically I'm just roughing it and I'm going to return it later. If I were going for a finished surface, then I would bring my gouge up and cut with a slicing cut and get a better surface that way on the final cuts. Easy way to judge that is put your bevel on the wood and then rotate the tip, the edge into the wood until it just starts to cut and start pulling. Get those wonderful slicing shavings. Other questions? Then I'm done.